Most people spend their entire lives trying to change the outside. They change jobs. They change cities. They change relationships. They change routines, goals, appearances, even identities. And yet, deep down, something stays the same. The same doubts return. The same fears resurface. The same patterns repeat. Not because life is against them, but because the mind they carry into every situation never truly changed. The mind is everything. Not as a motivational slogan, not as a positive quote to post and forget, but as a quiet, uncomfortable truth about how life actually works. What you think, consistently and repeatedly, becomes the lens through which you see the world. That lens shapes every decision you make, every action you take, and every result you experience. You do not react to reality itself. You react to the meaning your mind assigns to it. Two people can face the same obstacle. One grows stronger, the other collapses. The difference is not intelligence. It is not luck. It is not talent. It is the way the mind interprets what is happening in the moment. Most people never question this. They assume their thoughts are facts. They assume the inner voice is telling the truth. They assume emotional reactions are unavoidable. But what if they are not? What if your thoughts are not who you are, but something you have been practicing for years without realizing it? Because that is what thinking really is. A habit, a mental routine repeated so often, it feels natural. If you have ever felt stuck, overwhelmed, unmotivated, or disappointed in yourself, this is not proof that you are broken. It is proof that your mind has been trained in a certain direction. And anything that is trained can be retrained. This audiobook is not here to hype you up. It will not promise overnight transformation. It will not tell you to think positive and hope for the best. Instead, it invites you to slow down, to observe how your mind actually works when no one is watching, to notice the patterns quietly shaping your days, to recognize how small, repeated thoughts build an entire life. Because your life is not the result of one big decision. It is the result of thousands of tiny mental choices made every single day. What you dwell on, what you tolerate, what you replay, what you tell yourself when things do not go your way. Over time, these thoughts become beliefs. Beliefs become behaviors. Behaviors become destiny, whether you are aware of it or not. Over the next hour, you will not be asked to become someone new. You will be asked to become more conscious, more deliberate, more responsible for the inner world creating the outer one. This is not about controlling every thought. It is about choosing which thoughts deserve your energy. Because the moment you understand this, something shifts. You stop feeling like life is happening to you. You begin to realize your mind has been shaping it all along. The mind is everything, and what you think you become. This journey is an invitation to look inward with honesty, patience, and courage. Stay present. Listen closely. Let the ideas meet your own life. What you discover here is not theory, but a mirror and a path forward, step by step toward clarity, strength, and lasting inner freedom. Chapter 1. Your thoughts are not neutral. Most people believe their thoughts are harmless. They assume thinking is something that simply happens in the background, like noise you learn to live with. A passing doubt feels small. A quiet complaint seems insignificant. A familiar excuse feels reasonable, but the truth is far more serious. Every thought you allow to stay has direction. It is either pulling you forward or quietly dragging you backward. There is no such thing as a neutral thought. Every thought carries weight. Every thought leaves a trace. When you think, "I can't," something inside you tightens. When you think, "I'll try later," momentum dissolves. When you think, "This always happens to me," your mind begins searching for evidence to prove it right. Thoughts do not sit still. They move. They shape perception. They influence action long before you notice the change. Most people live as if their thoughts are private and harmless. But your mind is the command center of your life. What runs through it determines how you speak, how you move, how you decide, and how you respond under pressure. Long before results appear in the outer world, they have already formed in the inner one. Think of your mind as a voting system. Every repeated thought casts a vote for the person you are becoming. One vote may not seem important, but thousands of votes over time create a clear outcome. Confidence is not a single decision. It is a pattern of thoughts repeated until they feel natural. The same is true for fear, hesitation, discipline, and self-doubt. You do not wake up one day and suddenly lack direction. You arrive there gradually, through thoughts you allowed yesterday, last week, last year. You tolerated them because they felt familiar. You believed them because they sounded like you. And over time they built a version of reality that feels fixed, even when it is not. This is where awareness begins. The moment you realize your thoughts are not neutral, you regain responsibility. Responsibility is not blame, it is power. It means you are no longer a passive observer of your inner world. You become an active participant. You start to notice how a single thought can change the tone of your entire day. Notice what happens when your mind leans negative. Energy drops. Posture shifts. Effort feels heavier. Now notice what happens when your thinking becomes deliberate. Not fake optimism, but grounded clarity. The body responds differently. Focus sharpens. Action becomes simpler. Nothing external changed, yet everything feels different. This is not coincidence. It is cause and effect. Most people wait for motivation to arrive before they act. But motivation is the result of thinking, not the starting point. When your thoughts weaken you, motivation disappears. When your thoughts support you, action follows naturally. This is why discipline always begins in the mind. Pay attention to the language you use internally. Words like always, never, impossible, too late. These words sound small, but they close doors quietly. They reduce options. They narrow your world. Over time, they teach you to expect less from yourself. Your thoughts teach your nervous system how to respond to life. Repeated stress thoughts create constant tension. Repeated defeatist thoughts create hesitation. Repeated focused thoughts create stability. You're training yourself whether you intend to or not. This chapter is not asking you to control every thought. That would be impossible. It is asking you to recognize their direction. Ask yourself, does this thought strengthen me or weaken me? Does it expand my choices or shrink them? Does it move me closer to action or deeper into delay? Once you ask better questions, your thinking begins to shift. You start to realize that your thoughts are not you. They are habits you have practiced. And habits can change. The moment you stop treating thoughts as facts, they lose their authority. You no longer obey every inner command automatically. You pause. You choose. You redirect. This is the foundation of mental strength. Your life will never rise above the level of thinking you tolerate daily. But it can rise the moment you become conscious of it. Every thought matters. Every pattern counts. And from this point forward, awareness is your advantage. Your thoughts are not neutral. They are shaping you right now. Chapter 2. The invisible scripts running your life. Most people move through life believing they are making independent choices every day. They decide how to react, what to pursue, and when to stop. Yet beneath these choices, something quieter is operating. Invisible mental scripts guiding behavior without conscious awareness. These scripts feel natural, automatic, and familiar, which is why they are so powerful. They are written early, often before you had the language to question them. You absorbed them from family dynamics, school expectations, social rules, and repeated experiences. You learned what earned approval, what triggered criticism, and what kept you safe. You learned when to speak, when to stay quiet, and what parts of yourself were acceptable. Over time, these lessons hardened into assumptions. You did not choose them consciously. They became default settings, quietly shaping how much effort you give, how much risk you take, and how deeply you allow yourself to desire. Because these scripts operate beneath awareness. They often appear as personality. You might say, "This is just how I am." But what you are really describing is repetition. Familiar patterns reinforced so often they feel permanent. A script might whisper, "Do not stand out." Another might insist you must prove yourself constantly. Another might warn that failure means rejection. These messages rarely appear as full sentences. They show up as hesitation, tension, or a subtle tightening in the body. Because the mind prefers familiarity over truth, even painful patterns feel safer than uncertainty. This is why you can want change and still resist it. Part of you reaches forward while another part clings to an old script designed for survival, not fulfillment. Look closely at your life, and you will notice repetition. Similar conflicts, different faces, familiar emotional reactions, new circumstances, invisible ceilings you keep hitting. These are not coincidences. They are signals that a script is still running. Your mind learned these patterns when they once made sense. Perhaps they protected you from embarrassment, disappointment, or rejection. At one time they served a purpose. But protection can turn into limitation when it goes unquestioned. Awareness is the beginning of freedom. When you notice a reaction before you justify it, something shifts. You create space between impulse and action. In that space, choice becomes possible. This chapter is not asking you to judge your past or criticize yourself for what you learned. It is inviting you to observe your inner responses with curiosity. Notice when your emotions feel bigger than the moment. Notice when resistance appears without a clear reason. When a familiar voice says, "Do not try," or "This is risky," pause. Ask where that voice came from. You do not need to analyze endlessly. You only need to recognize that it is learned, not absolute truth. The moment you see a script as a script, it loosens its grip. You no longer confuse conditioning with identity. You gain the ability to respond instead of react. You begin to rewrite the pattern. This is how change actually begins. Not with force or motivation, but with awareness. Each time you notice a script running and choose differently, you weaken its hold. You are not here to erase your past. You're here to stop letting it decide your future. Every script can be rewritten, but only by the one who notices it running. As you move forward through this audiobook, carry this understanding gently. There is nothing wrong with you. You adapted. You learned. You survived. Now you are learning to choose. And that choice begins the moment you become aware of the invisible scripts shaping your life today. These scripts lose power not through resistance but through understanding. Each time you pause instead of obeying automatically, you remind yourself that the present is not the past. You are no longer a child reacting from memory. You are an adult capable of choice, direction, and growth. With patience and practice, new patterns begin to form. They may feel unfamiliar at first, because freedom often does. But unfamiliarity is not danger. It is simply new territory, waiting to be explored. As this awareness deepens, you will start noticing how often you interrupt yourself before you even begin. How often you assume outcomes before they happen. These moments are invitations, not failures. Each time you recognize a script and choose presence over habit, you take back a small piece of yourself. This is not dramatic. It is subtle and real. Over time, these small moments accumulate. They create a new inner landscape, one where choice becomes normal and old scripts slowly fade. You are not broken. You are waking up, and that is where everything begins. Chapter 3. Why positive thinking is not enough. For a long time, people have been taught that positive thinking is the solution to their problems. Think positive, they are told, and everything will begin to improve. Replace negative thoughts with uplifting ones. Repeat affirmations. Visualize success. Smile through difficulty. This advice sounds hopeful, and for a moment it can feel comforting. It offers relief. It gives the illusion of control. But for many people, it quietly stops working when life applies real pressure. Positive thinking is fragile. It depends on mood. And mood is unstable. You can feel optimistic in the morning and overwhelmed by the afternoon. You can believe in yourself during calm moments and lose that belief the moment stress appears. This is not a personal failure. It is a limitation of the method. Positivity without structure cannot survive adversity. The mind does not change because a thought sounds encouraging. It changes through repetition, evidence, and discipline. Most people do not suffer because they think negatively. They suffer because their thinking lacks consistency. One moment they feel capable. The next moment they doubt everything. Their inner world swings between hope and fear, motivation and avoidance. Without stability, the mind cannot build strength. Mental strength is not the absence of negative thoughts. It is the presence of control. A disciplined mind does not ask, "How do I feel right now?" It asks, "What thought will help me act responsibly in this moment?" That question marks the difference between comfort and growth. Positive thinking tries to eliminate discomfort. Disciplined thinking accepts discomfort and works through it. One seeks emotional relief, the other seeks clarity. This is why relying only on positivity often leads to exhaustion. You are constantly trying to feel better instead of becoming stronger. When people who depend on positivity face obstacles, they often feel discouraged. They did everything right. They stayed optimistic. Yet reality did not cooperate. What they lacked was not belief, but structure. Discipline provides structure for the mind. It is the ability to guide your thinking even when emotions resist. It allows you to choose clarity over impulse. Discipline does not deny fear. It places fear in proportion. It does not silence doubt. It prevents doubt from making decisions for you. Strong thinkers understand that thoughts are tools, not commands. When a negative thought appears, they do not panic. They do not suppress it or replace it with forced optimism. They examine it. They decide whether it deserves attention. This creates internal stability. Optimism hopes circumstances will improve. Discipline prepares you to act regardless of circumstances. Most people wait to feel confident before they take action. Disciplined thinkers understand that confidence is the result of action, not the prerequisite. They move first, even when uncertainty is present. Over time, this trains the mind to trust itself. The mind learns through experience. When you act despite fear, you teach your nervous system that discomfort is survivable. When you hesitate and retreat, you teach it that avoidance is safety. Eventually, the mind adapts to whichever lesson you repeat most often. Positive thinking without action provides no evidence. Disciplined action creates proof. This chapter is not asking you to become cold or emotionally detached. It is asking you to stop depending on feeling good in order to move forward. Emotions are signals. They are not instructions. When emotions control behavior, life becomes unpredictable. When discipline guides thinking, life becomes stable. Stability does not mean ease. It means reliability. It means you can think clearly even when things are difficult. Notice how your thinking changes under pressure. Not because you are weak, but because you were never taught how to hold your ground internally. That skill can be developed. Begin by observing moments when you seek comfort instead of clarity. When you avoid a difficult decision by telling yourself everything will be fine. When you distract yourself instead of choosing deliberately. Each moment is a training opportunity. Ask yourself, what thought helps me act with integrity right now? Not what feels pleasant, not what sounds inspiring, what moves me forward responsibly. At first, disciplined thinking will feel uncomfortable. Familiar habits resist change, but discomfort is not danger. It is evidence that growth is happening. With practice, your mind becomes steadier, less reactive, more focused. You stop chasing motivation and start building momentum. Confidence stops being something you hope for and becomes something you generate. Positive thinking can make you feel better temporarily. Disciplined thinking makes you stronger permanently. Once you experience the difference, you understand that real mental power does not come from optimism alone. It comes from training your mind to think clearly, especially when it would be easier not to. Chapter 4. Focus is the real power. In the modern world, focus has quietly become one of the rarest and most valuable forms of power a person can develop. You live surrounded by constant stimulation. Notifications, messages, news, entertainment, opinions, and endless information compete for your attention every single day. None of this is accidental. The environment around you is carefully designed to pull your mind outward, fragment your awareness, and keep you reacting instead of directing your own life. Most people believe their main problem is a lack of motivation or discipline. In truth, the deeper issue is a lack of focus. When attention is scattered, energy is scattered. When energy is scattered, progress becomes slow, inconsistent, and fragile, no matter how intelligent, talented, or determined you may be. Focus is not simply concentration. Focus is direction. Whatever you give your attention to grows in importance, intensity, and emotional weight. When your focus rests on fear, fear expands. When it rests on comparison, dissatisfaction grows. When it rests on progress, learning, and deliberate effort, confidence slowly forms. The outer circumstances may remain unchanged, but your experience of life transforms completely. A distracted mind lives in reaction mode. It responds to whatever feels loudest, newest, or most urgent. It jumps from thought to thought, task to task, without depth or continuity. This constant switching drains mental energy. You can stay busy all day and still feel strangely unfulfilled, as if nothing meaningful was actually completed. This exhaustion is not caused by effort. It is caused by fragmentation. Every unnecessary shift of attention carries a hidden cost. Momentum breaks. Clarity fades. Over time, the mind becomes trained to seek stimulation instead of purpose, noise instead of meaning. Restlessness appears even when nothing is truly wrong. A focused mind feels fundamentally different. It is calmer, steadier, and less reactive. When attention settles on one thing at a time, decisions simplify. Inner conflict decreases. Action becomes cleaner and more intentional. Focus reduces friction inside you, allowing energy to flow instead of scatter. Focus does not mean ignoring reality or responsibility. It means choosing priorities consciously. When everything is treated as equally important, nothing truly matters. The mind becomes overwhelmed, not because life demands too much, but because boundaries are missing. Notice how your body responds when your attention is pulled in multiple directions. Muscles tighten. Breathing becomes shallow. Thoughts race. Now notice how your body responds when you focus on a single task or idea. The nervous system settles. Breathing deepens. Presence increases. This is how the mind and body are meant to function. Most people surrender their attention without realizing it. They allow screens, schedules, and external demands to decide what deserves focus. As a result, they live reactively. They consume information instead of creating meaning. They respond instead of directing. Focus begins with a simple question. Is this worthy of my attention right now? Is this moving me closer to the life I want to build, or quietly pulling me away from it? Few people pause long enough to ask this, and fewer still answer honestly. Focus is a skill, not a personality trait. It strengthens through practice. Each time you resist unnecessary distraction, clarity increases. Each time you stay with a task longer than feels comfortable, endurance grows. Each time you choose depth over stimulation, your mind becomes steadier. A distracted mind seeks novelty. A focused mind seeks meaning. Skill, confidence, and self-trust are built through sustained attention, not sudden bursts of intensity. Focus allows effort to compound over time. Begin small. Choose one task, one intention, one thought worth holding. Stay with it fully. Notice the urge to escape. That urge is habit, not danger. Let it pass without acting on it. With practice, focus stops feeling like force and starts feeling like alignment. You feel less pulled apart and more whole. You stop reacting to life and start shaping it deliberately. Focus is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters, with presence. And when your attention becomes deliberate, your power returns quietly, steadily, and completely. This power does not announce itself loudly. It does not arrive with excitement or intensity. It arrives as calm consistency. It shows up in the ability to finish what you start, to remain present when boredom appears, and to stay grounded when distraction tries to pull you away. Over time, focused attention reshapes identity. You begin to trust yourself again. You feel capable of sustained effort. You feel clear about what deserves your time. In that clarity, confidence grows naturally. Not confidence based on hope or mood, but confidence built on evidence. Evidence that you can direct your mind, your energy, and your life with intention. This is how quiet discipline becomes real inner strength over time for you. Chapter 5. Your inner voice becomes your identity. Every day, whether you notice it or not, you're in constant conversation with yourself. This conversation never truly stops. It speaks in moments of silence, during pressure, before decisions, and immediately after mistakes. It comments, judges, predicts, encourages, warns, and explains. Over time, this inner voice becomes so familiar that you stop recognizing it as a voice at all. You experience it as truth, guidance, and identity. The way you speak to yourself shapes the person you become. Your inner voice is not background noise. It is instruction. It tells you what is possible, what is dangerous, what is acceptable, and what is hopeless. When it is harsh, life feels heavy. When it is chaotic, life feels unstable. When it is calm and grounded, life begins to feel manageable and clear. Most people believe their inner voice reflects who they are. In reality, it reflects what they learned. It was shaped by repetition, environment, and emotional experience. It borrowed tones from parents, teachers, authority figures, and peers. It absorbed reactions from past failures and disappointments. Over time, these borrowed voices blended together and became internalized. That voice now narrates your life. When you make a mistake, listen carefully to what it says. Does it correct you calmly or attack you personally? When you face uncertainty, does it guide you patiently or intimidate you into hesitation? When effort is required, does it encourage persistence or rush to judgment? These patterns matter because the voice you hear most often becomes the standard you live by. An inner voice that constantly criticizes creates fear. An inner voice that constantly doubts creates delay. An inner voice that constantly pressures creates burnout. None of these voices create strength. They drain energy, distort perception, and weaken trust in yourself. Over time, they teach your nervous system that effort is unsafe. Your nervous system responds to your inner voice as if it were external authority. Harsh self-talk activates stress responses. Supportive self-talk creates stability. The body listens closely to the tone you use internally. When the voice feels threatening, the body prepares to defend or retreat. When the voice feels steady, the body remains open and responsive. This is why personal change often feels emotionally exhausting. You're not just changing behavior, you're challenging a voice that has been running the system for years. Resistance appears not because growth is wrong, but because familiarity is being disrupted. Your inner voice becomes your identity through repetition. What you say to yourself daily becomes what you believe about yourself eventually. Beliefs shape behavior. Behavior reinforces belief. Over time, this cycle solidifies and feels permanent. But it is not permanent. The inner voice can be retrained. Not by silencing it, and not by replacing it with empty praise. It is retrained by refining it. A strong inner voice is not overly positive or overly harsh. It is honest, specific, and constructive. It corrects behavior without attacking character. Begin by noticing tone rather than content. Pay attention to how the voice speaks, not just what it says. Does it exaggerate? Does it generalize? Does it label you instead of describing actions? These habits can be interrupted with awareness. When the voice says, "You always fail," Replace it with accuracy. This attempt did not work. When it says you are not ready, replace it with responsibility. I can prepare and try. This is not positivity. This is precision. Precision builds trust. Over time, a calmer inner voice creates internal safety. When you feel safe inside, you take healthier risks. You recover faster from mistakes. You stay present under pressure instead of collapsing inward. This is how confidence is built quietly, through repeated moments of fair self-guidance. Your inner voice does not need to motivate you aggressively. It needs to guide you reliably. Think of it as a leader, not a critic. Leaders give direction without humiliation. They focus on improvement, not punishment. As you continue this journey, remember this truth. You become the person you speak to yourself as. Choose that voice with care. It will shape your resilience, your effort, your self-respect, and your future more than any external influence ever could. Each time you consciously adjust your inner voice, you weaken old conditioning and strengthen self-leadership. This process takes patience. The voice will not change overnight because it was built over years, but consistency matters more than intensity. Small corrections repeated daily reshape identity over time. When your inner voice becomes fair, steady, and grounded, your actions follow naturally. Effort feels lighter. Decisions feel clearer. You stop fighting yourself and begin cooperating with your own mind. That cooperation becomes quiet strength, guiding you forward even when circumstances are uncertain or difficult. This inner alignment becomes the foundation of lasting confidence and emotional stability. Chapter 6: Thoughts create emotions, not events. Most people believe their emotions are caused directly by what happens to them. They say, "This situation made me angry," or "That event ruined my mood," or "I feel anxious because of what happened." This explanation feels natural because emotions often arise immediately after events. But what feels natural is not always accurate. Events do not create emotions. Thoughts do. Between what happens and how you feel, there is always an interpretation. The mind assigns meaning first. The emotion follows. Two people can experience the same situation and feel completely different. One feels challenged, the other feels defeated. One feels curious, the other feels threatened. If emotions came directly from events, this would be impossible. The difference is not the event itself, but the meaning each mind attaches to it. Your emotions are responses to meaning, not to reality itself. This distinction matters because it determines where your power lives. If events control your emotions, you're always dependent on circumstances. Your inner state rises and falls based on factors you cannot fully control. But if thoughts create emotions, emotional stability becomes something you can train internally. Most emotional suffering comes from automatic interpretations. Thoughts appear so quickly that you do not notice them. You do not hear the sentence, "I am failing," but you feel the heaviness of discouragement. You do not consciously think, "I am not safe," but your body tightens with anxiety. The emotion feels sudden, yet it has a source. These thoughts are learned patterns. Your mind practiced certain interpretations for years. It learned which situations to label as dangerous, embarrassing, unfair, or hopeless. Over time, these labels became automatic, and emotions followed instantly. This does not mean emotions are wrong. Emotions are signals. They communicate how your mind is interpreting the moment. But when emotions are treated as facts, they begin to control behavior. You act as if the feeling itself is proof of reality. An emotion is a response, not a command. When you believe emotions come from events, you try to control the outside world to feel better. You avoid situations. You seek reassurance. You distract yourself. These strategies may help briefly, but they never address the root. The interpretations remain untouched. When you understand that thoughts create emotions, a new approach becomes possible. Instead of fighting the feeling, you examine the meaning behind it. You ask a simple but powerful question. What am I telling myself right now? This question creates space. In that space, emotional intensity often softens. Not because the situation changed, but because awareness interrupted the automatic loop. You stop being carried away by the first interpretation and regain the ability to choose a more accurate one. This is not about forcing positive thoughts. It is about questioning unexamined ones. When fear appears, you do not argue with it or suppress it. You investigate it. When anger rises, you do not deny it. You explore the belief fueling it. Over time, this practice builds emotional resilience. You stop fearing emotions because you understand them. You learn that discomfort does not equal danger. It means attention is required. Your nervous system begins to calm when it realizes you are listening instead of reacting. Emotional regulation becomes less about control and more about understanding. You stop fighting your inner experience and start learning from it. This is emotional maturity. You no longer blame the world for how you feel. You take responsibility for how you interpret it. Responsibility here does not mean guilt. It means ownership. It means recognizing that your inner world deserves care, clarity, and honesty. As you move forward, remember this. You cannot control every event. You cannot predict every outcome. But you can learn to notice the thoughts that arise before emotions take over behavior. When you do, emotions become guides instead of obstacles. They point toward insight instead of chaos. You become less reactive and more responsive. You pause before acting. You choose meaning instead of accepting the first story your mind offers. This shift does not eliminate emotion. It transforms your relationship with it. You stop being ruled by reactions and start responding with awareness. Practice daily. This changes how you experience your entire life. You begin to feel steadier even when circumstances remain uncertain. You feel grounded even when challenges appear. You trust yourself to navigate emotional waves instead of drowning in them. This understanding gives you real freedom, not freedom from emotion, but freedom within emotion. The freedom to feel deeply without losing direction. The freedom to experience discomfort without collapsing. The freedom to stay present, thoughtful, and grounded in moments that once controlled you. When you understand that thoughts create emotions, you reclaim authorship over your inner world. And that authorship quietly reshapes how you live, decide, and move forward one moment at a time. Chapter 7. The Hidden Cost of Uncontrolled Thinking. Most people believe their biggest struggles come from external pressure, work stress, financial uncertainty, relationship conflict, lack of time, lack of opportunity. These factors matter, but they are not the deepest source of exhaustion. The real cost often comes from something quieter and far more constant, uncontrolled thinking. An undisciplined mind never rests. When thoughts run without direction, The mind stays busy even when the body is still. You replay conversations that already ended. You imagine futures that have not arrived. You analyze mistakes long after lessons were learned. This mental activity feels productive, but it rarely is. It drains energy without creating clarity. Uncontrolled thinking creates emotional fatigue before physical fatigue ever appears. Overthinking does not solve problems, it multiplies them. Each repeated thought adds tension. Each imagined scenario increases uncertainty. The mind begins to confuse possibility with probability. What might happen starts to feel like what will happen. Anxiety grows not because danger is present, but because imagination is unchecked. This is one of the hidden costs. Your nervous system cannot tell the difference between a real threat and a vividly imagined one. When your thoughts constantly scan for problems, your body lives in a state of low-level alert. Muscles tighten, breathing shortens, focus weakens. Over time, this state becomes normal. Another cost is indecision. When thinking lacks structure, decisions feel heavy. You see too many options and imagine too many outcomes. Instead of choosing, you hesitate. Instead of acting, you wait for certainty. But certainty rarely arrives. Life moves forward while you remain stuck in analysis. Uncontrolled thinking also fuels self-sabotage. You know what needs to be done, yet something inside resists. You delay. You distract yourself. You rationalize avoidance. This is not laziness, it is mental overload. When the mind is crowded with conflicting thoughts, action feels overwhelming. The cost continues to compound. Relationships suffer when thinking is unchecked. You misinterpret words. You assume intentions. You replay tone and expression until meaning becomes distorted. Small issues feel larger than they are. Misunderstandings grow quietly, fed by imagination instead of communication. Confidence erodes as well. When the mind constantly questions itself, trust disappears. You doubt your ability to decide, to act, to follow through. Each time you hesitate, the mind learns hesitation. Each time you avoid discomfort, the mind learns avoidance. Over time, this pattern becomes identity. This chapter is not meant to criticize you. It is meant to reveal the price you may be paying without realizing it. An undisciplined mind consumes energy that could be used for growth. It steals attention that could be used for presence. It turns simple moments into mental battles. The cost is not always dramatic. It is subtle. It shows up as constant tiredness, lack of clarity, and a feeling of being behind even when you are trying. The solution is not to stop thinking. That would be impossible. The solution is to guide thinking. Mental discipline begins with awareness. Notice when thoughts circle instead of move forward. Notice when analysis becomes avoidance. Notice when imagination turns against you. These moments are signals, not failures. Ask yourself simple questions. Is this thought helping me act responsibly right now? Is it preparing me or paralyzing me? Does it clarify the next step or distract me from it? Uncontrolled thinking thrives on vagueness. Discipline introduces precision. Instead of thinking everything at once, focus on the next step. Instead of solving the entire future, deal with the present task. This reduces mental noise. As discipline grows, the mind begins to feel lighter, not empty, but organized. You stop carrying unnecessary weight. Energy returns. Focus improves. Decisions feel clearer. This is the reward of mental discipline. You reclaim space inside your own head. You move through life with less friction. You respond instead of react. The hidden cost of uncontrolled thinking is your life force. When you regain control of your attention, you regain yourself. Chapter 8. Training the mind like a muscle. Your mind is not fixed. It is not fragile. It is not something you are simply born with and forced to accept. Like the body, the mind adapts to what it is repeatedly asked to do. It grows stronger with use, weaker with neglect, and distorted with misuse. Whether you realize it or not, you are training your mind every single day. Training happens through repetition. Every time you repeat a thought, you reinforce a pathway. Every time you respond the same way, you strengthen a pattern. Over time, these patterns become automatic. They feel natural, even when they are harmful. This is why mental change feels difficult at first. You're not fighting truth. You're interrupting habit. Most people train their bodies with intention, but train their minds by accident. They expose their minds to constant distraction, comparison and stress, then wonder why focus feels impossible. They rehearse worry, doubt and self-criticism daily, then wonder why confidence feels weak. The mind reflects what it practices. Mental training does not begin with motivation. It begins with structure. Just as physical strength is built through consistent, simple movements, mental strength is built through small, repeated acts of attention and choice. You do not need dramatic techniques. You need regular discipline. Think of each day as a training session. What you focus on is the weight you lift. What you repeat is the exercise you perform. If you constantly lift mental weight in the form of fear, the mind becomes skilled at fear. If you lift weight in the form of clarity, effort, and responsibility, the mind adapts accordingly. This is why waiting to feel ready does not work. Readiness is the result of training, not the condition for it. You train the mind by showing up when it would prefer to avoid. You train it by staying present when distraction pulls. You train it by choosing deliberate thought when automatic thinking appears. At first, this feels uncomfortable. Discomfort is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that new muscles are being used. Familiar habits resist change. The mind seeks efficiency, not growth. It prefers old patterns because they require less energy. Training asks for effort before reward. Consistency matters more than intensity. A few minutes of deliberate practice each day reshape the mind faster than rare moments of extreme effort. When you return again and again to the same simple practices, stability forms. Attention strengthens. Emotional reactions soften. Training the mind also requires rest. Just as muscles need recovery, the mind needs silence. Stillness is not emptiness. It is integration. When you allow moments without stimulation, the mind organizes itself. Clarity emerges naturally when noise decreases. This chapter invites you to approach your inner world with patience. You're not trying to dominate your thoughts. You are teaching them. You are showing the mind what matters by where you place attention. Over time, the mind learns to follow. Progress may feel slow. That is normal. Mental strength develops quietly. One day you notice you react less. Another day you notice you recover faster. Eventually you realize you trust yourself more. These changes are subtle, but they are real. Training the mind is not about perfection. It is about reliability. You become someone who can return to clarity even after distraction. You become someone who can choose response over reaction. This reliability becomes inner confidence. When you treat the mind like a muscle, you stop expecting instant results. You respect the process. You commit to practice. And with time, the mind becomes stronger, steadier, and more cooperative. This is how lasting change is built. Training also requires intention. Without a clear direction, effort scatters. When you decide what kind of mind you want to build, your practice gains purpose. You stop drifting and start directing. Each choice becomes part of a larger pattern moving you forward. There will be days when training feels pointless, days when the mind resists and old habits return. These moments are not setbacks, they are part of the process. Strength is not built by avoiding weakness, but by meeting it consistently. Over time, your relationship with effort changes. What once felt heavy becomes normal. What once required willpower becomes routine. This is the quiet power of training. The mind you build today becomes the life you live tomorrow. With patience, repetition, and honesty, mental training reshapes identity. You stop seeing discipline as force and start seeing it as care. You learn that guiding your mind is an act of self-respect. In that respect, strength grows, and that strength supports you long after motivation fades, carrying you forward with calm determination and steady clarity. This foundation allows you to build a future that feels chosen, stable, intentional. Chapter 9. Stillness, Silence, and Mental Strength. In a culture that glorifies speed, noise, and constant expression, stillness is often misunderstood. Silence is mistaken for weakness. Slowness is confused with lack of ambition. Yet the strongest minds in history were not frantic or reactive. They were grounded. They knew how to pause. They knew how to be still. Stillness is not inactivity. It is control. A mind that cannot tolerate silence is a mind that is being ruled by impulses, distractions, and the constant need for stimulation. Whenever quiet moment feels uncomfortable, the mind seeks escape. It reaches for noise to avoid itself. Over time, this avoidance weakens mental strength. Silence reveals what noise hides. When the external world quiets down, the inner world becomes audible. Thoughts rise. Emotions surface. Unresolved tensions appear. Many people avoid stillness for this reason. They are not afraid of silence itself. They are afraid of what silence brings up. But avoidance does not create peace. It creates dependency. A mind trained to need constant input becomes restless. It reacts quickly but rarely wisely. It responds before understanding. It speaks before listening. It moves before thinking. This reactivity feels like energy, but it is actually instability. Mental strength grows in pauses. The ability to stop, breathe, and observe before reacting is a form of power. It creates space between stimulus and response. In that space, choice appears. Without that space, behavior becomes automatic. Old patterns repeat themselves without resistance. Stillness trains the nervous system to settle. When you allow quiet moments without immediately filling them, the body learns that it is safe to be present. Heart rate slows, breathing deepens, attention stabilizes. This physical response supports mental clarity. Silence sharpens awareness. When external noise fades, subtle signals become noticeable. You sense tension earlier. You notice thought patterns more clearly. You recognize emotional shifts before they escalate. This awareness allows correction before damage occurs. Strong minds do not rush to react. They wait to understand. Stillness does not mean suppression. You are not pushing thoughts away. You are allowing them to pass without being carried. You observe without attachment. This observation weakens the grip of impulsive thinking. Many people believe they need to express every thought immediately. They equate expression with honesty. But not every thought deserves a voice. Some thoughts need reflection. Others need refinement. Silence gives thoughts time to mature. Silence is a filter. When you pause before speaking or acting, you prevent unnecessary conflict. You reduce regret. You increase precision. Words become more intentional. Actions become more aligned. Stillness also builds emotional resilience. When you can sit with discomfort without reacting, you gain confidence in your ability to endure. You learn that feelings rise and fall on their own. You do not need to escape them to survive them. This capacity creates inner calm. Calm is not weakness. Calm is readiness. It allows you to see clearly when others panic. It allows you to respond thoughtfully when others react emotionally. Calm creates influence without force. Practicing stillness does not require isolation or extreme habits. It begins with small moments. A pause before checking your phone. A breath before responding. A moment of silence before deciding. These pauses accumulate. Over time, the mind learns a new rhythm. It becomes less urgent, less reactive, more deliberate. You begin to trust silence instead of fearing it. This trust changes how you move through life. You stop filling every gap with noise. You stop reacting to every impulse. You become comfortable with space. In that space, clarity emerges naturally. Stillness is where mental strength consolidates. It is where lessons integrate. It is where discipline becomes internal instead of forced. The mind no longer needs constant control because it has learned restraint. Silence becomes a source of power. As you continue this journey, remember that you do not need to be loud to be strong. You do not need to rush to be effective. Sometimes the most powerful action is restraint. When you cultivate stillness, you gain access to a deeper form of control, one that does not rely on effort or intensity, one that comes from alignment. And in that alignment, mental strength becomes steady, quiet, and unshakable over time. Chapter 10. Becoming the person. You think like you do not become the person you wish to be in moments of hope or inspiration. You become the person you think like day after day through repetition that feels ordinary and unnoticed. Identity is not created in dramatic turning points. It is formed quietly through the thoughts you return to when no one is watching. Every consistent thought is a direction. The way you think determines how you interpret effort, failure, time, and possibility. It determines whether you see challenges as threats or invitations. It determines whether discomfort feels like a warning or a sign of growth. Long before the world responds to you, your mind has already decided how you will respond to the world. This is why change often feels slow. You are not just altering habits or behaviors. You are reshaping the lens through which you see yourself, and that lens has been reinforced for years. Most people try to change outcomes without changing thinking. They want different results while rehearsing the same inner conversations. They hope behavior will override belief. But belief always leads. Behavior follows. The future version of you already exists as a pattern of thought. That version thinks differently under pressure. It speaks differently internally after mistakes. It responds differently to uncertainty. The gap between who you are and who you want to become is not time or talent. It is thinking. Becoming someone new does not require abandoning who you are. It requires refining how you think. You do not need to erase your past. You need to stop letting past thinking decide present choices. Every time you choose a more deliberate thought, you practice a new identity. Identity is not a label. It is a pattern. When you consistently think with responsibility instead of excuse, you become responsible. When you consistently think with patience instead of panic, you become steady. When you consistently think with clarity instead of avoidance, you become decisive. This is not imagination. It is conditioning. The mind learns who you are by watching what you repeatedly think. Over time, those thoughts stop feeling chosen and start feeling natural. This is how identity stabilizes. The danger is not negative thinking alone. The danger is unconscious thinking. When thoughts run automatically, identity forms without your consent. You become whoever your habits create. This chapter invites you to choose consciously. Ask yourself, how does the person I want to become think in moments of difficulty? How do they speak to themselves when progress is slow? How do they interpret setbacks? These questions shift focus from outcome to process. You do not need to act like that person immediately. You need to think like them consistently. At first, this feels intentional and effortful. That is normal. New patterns always do. Over time, effort fades and identity remains. What once required discipline becomes instinct. This is how real transformation happens. You stop waiting for motivation and start relying on structure. You stop hoping for confidence and start building trust with yourself. You stop reacting to life and start shaping it from the inside out. Becoming the person you think like also means letting go of thoughts that no longer serve you. Not every thought deserves loyalty. Some thoughts belong to earlier versions of you. Keeping them alive keeps you anchored to the past. Growth requires release. As you move forward, remember that consistency matters more than intensity. One clear thought repeated daily outweighs 1,000 moments of inspiration. Identity is built in ordinary moments through quiet decisions. You are always becoming something. The only question is whether you are choosing it. When your thinking becomes deliberate, your life follows. Not perfectly, not effortlessly, but steadily, with direction. This is the power you have been developing throughout this journey. Awareness, discipline, focus, stillness, responsibility, together they shape how you think, and how you think shapes who you become. The mind is everything, and the person you are becoming is already taking form one thought at a time. If there is one truth to carry with you after this journey, it is this. Your life is not shaped by chance, luck, or sudden moments of inspiration. It is shaped quietly, steadily by the way you think each day. Not the thoughts you wish you had, but the thoughts you repeat. Not the ideas you admire, but the inner conversations you allow to guide you when no one else is listening. Throughout this audiobook, you have explored a simple but demanding idea. The mind is everything, not as a slogan, not as a comforting belief, but as a responsibility. Your thoughts are not neutral. Your focus is not accidental. Your inner voice is not harmless. Together they form the foundation of who you become. You have seen how invisible scripts influence your choices, how positive thinking alone collapses under pressure, how focus creates power and distraction drains it, how the voice you speak to yourself with becomes the standard you live by, How emotions follow interpretation, not events. How uncontrolled thinking extracts a hidden cost from your energy, clarity, and confidence. How training the mind requires patience, repetition, and restraint. How stillness and silence strengthen you in ways noise never can. And finally, how identity itself is shaped by the thoughts you consistently choose. None of this was meant to overwhelm you. It was meant to return something to you. Responsibility, not blame, not pressure. Responsibility is power. Responsibility is freedom. Because once you understand that your inner world shapes your outer life, you stop waiting for permission to change. You stop hoping circumstances will save you. You begin working where real change happens. Inside, this does not mean you will never struggle again. It does not mean doubt will disappear or fear will never visit. It means you will no longer be confused about where to look when challenges arise. You will know that before reacting you can pause. Before believing you can question. Before collapsing inward, you can choose a steadier response. Growth does not require perfection. It requires awareness practiced consistently. There will be days when old patterns return. Days when distraction feels stronger than focus. Days when the inner voice becomes harsh again. These moments are not failures. They are reminders. Training does not end because you stumble. It continues because you notice. What matters is not how often you fall back into old thinking, but how quickly you recognize it and return to clarity. Your mind is not an enemy to conquer. It is a system to guide. When you treat it with patience instead of force, discipline instead of denial, it begins to cooperate. Over time, thinking becomes less reactive and more deliberate. Life feels less chaotic and more directed. Remember this: you are always becoming something. Even when you feel stuck, even when nothing seems to change, identity is forming. The question is whether you are choosing that direction consciously or letting habit decide for you. From this point forward, you do not need to change everything at once. Start small. Choose one thought to question, one moment to pause, one habit of attention to refine. These small decisions compound quietly, powerfully. The future you want is not built through grand declarations. It is built through ordinary moments, handled with clarity. Your mind is everything because it is where every decision begins. And now you are no longer unconscious of that fact. You are aware, and awareness changes everything. What you think consistently and deliberately, you become. Carry that truth with you. Let it guide you and allow your life to reflect the strength, clarity, and intention you are now capable of creating.